movie notes on Pasolini. 2014 film, 12 September 2024 view. I'm filming this 2 days after I watched it. So I'm filming this on Saturday, 14 September 2024. I'm Tanis Leonhardi, she, her, hers of Seattle. I'm Tanis Coralee Leonhardi, she, her, hers of Seattle. And my description for this viewing is it's a film style, more biographical drama than documentary about the life and death of Italian poet Pier Paolo Pasolini, with a focus on the time and circumstances leading up to his death. Leading up to and including, I guess, and including his death. So Pasolini was a real dude, died back in the 1970s, and so this is a movie that it doesn't quite frame it as a biography. I think there's a bit of biographies tend to be like kind of framed as like about the person's whole life. So this is more like zooming in on a very particular part of this Italian poet's life, and specifically kind of what he was working on and what the kind of societal circumstances and his circumstances were when he died. And this is part of my, I have a playlist on this YouTube channel, Tanis Leonhardi, that's currently titled Pride Curation. And this is a good one for that because it kind of, I actually did encounter this name when I was growing up, Pasolini. And I was like, I don't mind him as like an Italian poet. And this movie does not change that perspective. Like growing up being like under 15 years of age kind of. And it is a little, so my sexual orientation is asexual. And so when things get really sexual, it can be like, I'm not heterosexual, I'm not homosexual, I'm not bisexual, so I'm not the sexual spectrum. So I'm, that's why asexuals have their own flag, right? We're a different spectrum. So like I can, some things that people just like intuitively get or by reflex get, I'm like, I have no foundation for what that means. Okay. Because I'm not that. And so I brought up when I was in my movie notes for Memoirs of a Geisha, a movie notes video from a few days ago now, like virginity from the male perspective, and I was like, well, maybe Pasolini's that. So I was watching it and I was kind of putting it through that perspective. And the two people I thought about while I was watching this movie were my Tomas Seixon and my Nicola Martinenghi. And I was like, maybe it is a bit, because when he dies, he's working on this piece about these two guys who go to some festival that's celebrating homosexual culture, gays and lesbians, and kind of the sexual acts that the communities do. And I was like, well, maybe what he's trying to do, or this is a real person, right? I was like, maybe there's a lot of fantasies or desires that a man wants for the first time, and maybe it is for the woman as well, but maybe it's male dominated, and that's just kind of how nature works, and it's how nature works, and whether or not the guy gets it, right? Female tear down culture of today certainly supports that, and so, and there's female build up culture too, the women that are like, well, let's do this in a way that we both enjoy. So instead, kind of hearing the fantasies of their man, being like, well, which ones can we do? Right? And so it's like, well, maybe that's this, a bit of paying homage to a community where whether or not, like, that's how he lost his virginity, there's a little bit of, at some point, most men dream of doing this with their women, their woman, right? And so kind of giving or trying to build up the community that, right, where maybe that types of sexual activity is more like part of the culture, right? And it's part of, yeah, kind of thing. So I was like, and yeah, so I was, and perhaps part of the culture in a more vibrant and proud way, so kind of pride, than some other sexual orientations. So it was, yeah, that was kind of, it was like, so maybe yes, but it's not necessarily as upfront in your face kind of as female culture around virginity and having sex. So at least of these days. So yeah, so possibly, I suppose my takeaway. So there we go. This is my movie notes on Pasolini, 2014 film, 12 September 2024.